Hello boys and girls, Jack here bringing you some brand new Battlefield 4 footage that I recorded at E3 last week. In this video we're going to be looking at lots of new stuff including Commander Mode, the UI and also some other little bits that I missed out alongside a nice MRAP kill streak. That's the truck with the big machine gun on the top. Before I start I want to clear something up from yesterday's video related to the counter-attack mechanics when you get knifed. So I was told at E3 by two separate developers that you can always counter knife no matter which direction you're attacked from. So they told me if you attack from the side or the back you can still counter it. Also in the footage you see that there's one point when I'm lying down prone, a guy comes up behind me and knifes me and I have the option to counter attack, so I assumed that information was legitimate. Anyways, Demise99, who's the core gameplay designer on BF3 and BF4 I believe, actually messaged and said you cannot counter knife attacks from the side, behind or if you're prone. You can only counter front attacks when you're crouched or standing. So there you go guys, from the horse's mouth, you can only counter front attacks when you're crouched or standing. If someone knifes you in the side or the back, you're screwed, there's no way to counter it. I don't know whether the developers I spoke to maybe weren't clued in or they just hadn't made their minds up yet about the mechanic, but that's what they told me. And apparently when I was knifed from behind and I got the counter attack option on my screen, that was just a bug. So that's not supposed to be in the game, so there you go, cleared that one up. So when I got onto the PC at E3 that I was allowed to record on, the first thing I did was go into the options and look at the graphics options and the controls. As you can see here, they're pretty much identical to Battlefield 3 on the PC. In terms of graphics, I think when you have BF4 on ultra settings, it is an improvement over Battlefield 3. It just looks a bit more realistic, everything's just a bit more gritty. I feel like there's a lot of new particle effects as well, which adds something to the game. Also, you've got all the dust that comes down after the building falls down. It's a really nice looking game on ultra graphics. But being a competitive gamer, I wanted to actually feel the game and see how it felt with the best performance, so I turned all the settings down to low, and that's going to give me a better feel for the mouse movement, the controls, the suppression, everything like that. So I went into the game, put everything on low. As you notice as well, there's now a field of view slider, so you don't really click through the field of view anymore, which is good. As you can see there, you can also adjust the size of the HUD, which is a nice addition. Another reason I like to put all the graphics on low, the motion blur and the anti-aliasing, when you have those on, they actually cause a little bit of input lag on your mouse, and you can really feel it. I can definitely feel it anyway when I'm playing BF3, and it was also there in BF4 as well, so I turned all that off and I had pretty one-to-one mouse movements. As you can see, the gameplay tab is very similar to in BF3. Kind of sad that they've still got the network smoothing factor in there. I don't really think something like that should be in a competitive first-person shooter game at all. There's just no need for it. This is in BF3 as well, and if you don't know what this is, basically if you have it all the way to the left, you're going to get better hit registration and a more accurate representation of where people are on the server. The downside to having it all the way to the left is that animations aren't as smooth. You get people spinning around on the spot doing pirouettes when they're running along. Characters lag a bit more, vehicles lag, and also the knife animation is a bit laggy. If you have it all the way to the right, the game looks much smoother and all the animations play really nice and it looks nice, but a lot of stuff is being interpolated, so your hit registration isn't going to be as accurate as if you have it all the way to the left. Now some people like to keep this in the middle. I turn it all the way to the left because I care more about an accurate game experience than fancy animations, but something like this shouldn't be in the game at all, especially a big AAA title like BF3. I just don't think it has a place in the game at all. I'm just hoping by the time the game's released that they can iron out any problems with the game and completely remove that network smoothing factor. Again, when I was speaking to the developers, they said that they've put a lot of effort into improving the hit registration and the general server architecture, so hopefully all that stuff's going to be sorted out for release. The only thing I'm not really sure about on there is Battle Dash. I don't really know what that is. I don't know if DICE have talked about that before. I'm assuming it's some sort of element on the UI, but I'm really unsure about that, so I can't comment on it. So the gameplay here, I've jumped in the MRAP, and it's like a really heavily armoured truck, sort of in between a Humvee and a tank, I guess, in terms of armour and hit points. And the machine gun on top of this thing is an absolute beast, and I'm just ripping these infantry up, sort of switching between the driver's seat and then switching to the gunner seat. It's quite effective. think this vehicle can take like 2 or 3 rockets before it's disabled. Obviously if you get some C4 on there it's going to blow up pretty fast, but quite durable, and definitely going to see this vehicle play a big part of the infantry maps in BF4. An element of the vehicles which I don't think people have really talked about. In BF3, to get in a vehicle, all you have to do is tap the E key on your keyboard, or if you're on the console you just tap the use button and you just go in. Now you can go in and out of vehicles pretty quick in BF3, like in, out, in, out. Now in BF4 you actually have to hold the key before you get in and also before you get out. So I presume that they've done this to sort of simulate like opening a door or opening the hatch of a tank and then getting in. So now getting in and out of vehicles is more of a conscious choice, because in BF3 you can get in and out of vehicles pretty fast and you can actually use them to your advantage. If you're having like a firefight with someone, you can ring around a rosy around a tank, jump in, jump out, and you see a lot of these back and forth engineer battles in tanks, like is he in, is he out, is he in, is he out, you know, it just gets a bit messy. So now you actually have to hold the key to get in and get out. You've got to think about it a bit more. You've got to think, am I safe enough? Do I have enough time to get into this tank? And if this tank's about to explode, do I have enough time to get out? You can't just tap the use key anymore. It doesn't work. You've got to actually hold it for like a second and then you can get out. I wanted to talk a little bit about the UI and the spawn screen in general in the pre-alpha that was at E3. Obviously a massive improvement over BF3. The UI is really sexy now, it just looks awesome. The spawning system works great. You can click on anything on the map, so I can click on the A flag, the B flag, I can click on individual squad members, I can click on tanks, vehicles. They're not in a list anymore, you can just click on them and then click deploy and that will put you in that place. It's really intuitive and I think it's probably the best way of doing things in a Battlefield game. Also, you notice when I click on any of these elements, in the bottom left I get like a little spectator screen. So I can see exactly what's going on around that flag, where that tank's looking, or if I click on a squad member I can see a first person view of what he's up to. Now look at this example here. So I'm about to spawn in and I'm not paying attention to the screen in the bottom left. As you can see there's a tank there. Now I spawn on my squad member and just get run over by the tank, but if I'd have actually paid attention to the left of the screen there, I would have seen what was coming and I probably wouldn't have spawned. So that's a really useful tool for checking out where you spawn, and that's going to remove some of the frustrations with being killed as soon as you spawn, or spawning in and just having a tank in front of you like in that situation there. So I love that little spectator screen there. That's a brilliant feature. Another fantastic element of the UI, you can double click on anything and just go in to customize it. So if I want to go into my assault class and customize it, I can just double click on assault there. If I want to customize my pistol, I can just double click. If I want to customize my gun, my primary weapon, I can just double click on it and go into the screen. So it's all very intuitive, quick, easy to use. It's what we should have had in BF3 and I'm super happy that they've actually got a very good, sexy UI in BF4. It looks brilliant and it works really well. It's great. I can't stop gushing about it. It's a really cool UI. It's good. Good job, DICE. Good job with that. The class customization itself is quite well set out, as you can see. Again, you can just double click on all these things and sort the attachments. On the right hand side there you can see how the attachments affect each weapon. Obviously they're not all in the game at the moment and they're going to change, like I said. Here's a look at some of the camouflage options you can get on the weapons. I assume that they're going to add a lot more here. Obviously they're going to have like unlocks and more options there, but they all seem pretty cool and they all look like stuff that you might actually use in real life on a weapon. There's nothing too outlandish. They all feel like they fit in the Battlefield universe. I've also got a quick look at underwater swimming here, and I don't think many people know this, but if you actually hold crouch or control on the keyboard, you can swim under the water. So I guess that's going to give you a little bit of cover if you're pinned down. If you need to dive under quickly and just swim to a different location, you can do that. You can stay under for a few seconds and then come back up. So that's a really cool feature. Very hard to see under the water, of course. It's a bit murky. It's not really clear water. So that's what that looks like. I don't know if we've seen any footage of that, but there we go. Obviously, Commander mode has been added to the game as well. I didn't get to play it, but I got to see it firsthand behind the big battle station. There's a picture we took of someone playing on it, and obviously there's a lot of information about it. So you get UAV scans and tomahawks and all sorts of other things that you can do to influence the game. A lot of people might think that it's a bit of a gimmick and you're not really going to have a big effect on the game, but if you've got a bad commander, it's going to make your time in game a lot harder. From what I can tell, when you're in a tank in BF4, you get limited ammo. So eventually, you're going to run out of ammo. I was told the only way to resupply a tank is by a supply drop from a commander. So if you're going around in a tank and you manage to take out the enemy tank and then you kill some infantry with your secondary, but then the tank respawns and then comes back to kill you, you haven't got any primary ammo left, you're a bit screwed. So you need that commander there to be dropping stuff and supplying it for you. Also, UAV scans around flags are very important. You get to see impulses where people are on the map, which is very useful when you're trying to take a flag. This clip here as well, I love this because it just demonstrates the power that a commander can have. So I'm going around with my team and a couple of squad members, and we're gonna go cap this flag. As you can see on the minimap, it doesn't really look like there's any enemies around here. There's a lot of teammates, so we're probably gonna cap this flag. And out of nowhere, the commander drops a tomahawk missile onto that flag and kills like 4 infantry guys. So that's gonna give the enemy team a chance to spawn back there. Obviously, we're not gonna cap the flag as fast. So the commander actually had a direct impact there on part of my team capturing that objective. Also, really cool clip. When I was in the Viper with Chaboy flying around, I was the gunner. Chaboy decides to fly into the building. Why not? Might as well. It's a battlefield. Get the helicopter into the building. Out of nowhere, tomahawk missile. Look at that. Bam. That is so cool. Just drops it through the window and it lands right in front of us. I'm not sure whether that's a friendly or an enemy tomahawk. I don't know if there's any way of telling yet, but either way, it's just so cool that those things actually exist in the world, and I'm sure with spectator mode we're going to see some pretty cool tomahawk missile clips when the game's released. Quick look at the motion sensor balls now that the Recon class gets. You can throw these and wherever they land it sends out like pulses, and every pulse, if there's an enemy in the area, they're going to show up on the minimap. So you can chuck this into a location, say you're just about to go and attack an MCOM and you want to check that there's no one around it. You throw a motion sensor ball into the building and that will show you on the map where the enemies are. In this clip here, I just love the attention to detail. Look at the Jeep thing on the right. I don't know what that's called, but it's like the Chinese lightly armoured equivalent to the Humvee, I guess. But as it speeds around that corner, obviously it's going a bit too fast and the vehicle physics kick in and it just kicks onto 2 wheels like that. I absolutely love that. Like, just the attention to detail is brilliant there. Here you can see me using the second sight on my AK-5C assault rifle. So I've got the red dot sight on there. I've also got a sight that I don't remember the name of, but basically it gives me a bigger zoom level. So I see the guys across the water and I decide, you know what, I'm just going to go prone, switch to my second sight, and I'm actually going to be more effective as a player. Like, rather than just use my red dot sight and you know, not be able to see them as zoomed in as clearly, I'm going to switch to my second sight and I'm going to be able to put down some more accurate fire on those guys. So I can see the double sights thing actually being useful in a few situations. I don't really like the canted iron sights. Maybe if you're a bit of a hipster, you could go like on a sniper rifle, you could go to canted iron sights and a 20 times scope or something, so you can do some long range and very short range sniper rifle stuff in Battlefield 4. I don't know if you would do that, but whatever. But yeah, I can actually see these things being useful in the game. I've had a lot of people asking me about Suppression as well and how it felt. Did I notice it? Was it bad? Was it good? In the build of the game that I played, you only really notice Suppression from support weapons like LMGs, sniper rifles, and also the big guns like on the miniguns on the boat, for example. And the suppression effect is much more of a visual thing now. So you can see here it's sort of like a cone that's going into the center of the screen. In BF3 it's more like you've got Vaseline all over your screen. In BF4, when you're heavily suppressed, it's more like a tunnel vision sort of effect, if you get what I mean. You can sort of see that there. In terms of general assault play, when I was shooting at people and they were shooting back at me, I didn't really notice suppression at all, and I think that's a good thing. It felt similar to the suppression when BF4 was released originally, and then they did a lot of changes to it. It's definitely toned back from the suppression in BF4 at the moment, so it feels nicer when you're doing assault play and you're just like having like a shootout with someone at, say, like medium range. You don't really notice it at all, and your bullets are still quite accurate. I also noticed that if I was suppressed, the time it takes me to lose the suppression so I can peek again and start shooting has been reduced significantly from BF4. So in BF4, if you get suppressed, you've got to probably wait like 3 or 4 seconds before you can peek out again and put down some accurate return fire. But in BF4, I was finding that if I just ducked into cover, it was more like 1 or 2 seconds, and then I could go again and peek and then still be accurate. So the suppression has definitely been toned back a bit. It wasn't really a big issue for me when I was playing BF4. I didn't notice it, and the game just generally felt really smooth, and the gun mechanics were great. It feels good. Feels really good, guys. Looking forward to it. RPGs also shoot a lot faster now, and the sound that they make is awesome. It's more like, it feels like you're actually firing a big rocket-propelled grenade, which I guess you actually are in a computer game. But yeah, they sound awesome, and they go a lot faster now. The dip on them has been reduced a little bit too, I think. Didn't really notice sun glare either. Obviously that's a big problem in BF4 when you look towards the sun and you can't see shit. It wasn't really a problem for me in this level in particular. The point system in the game as well has been tweaked somewhat. You get points for just hitting a vehicle and doing damage. You'll see like the vehicle hit thing come up, and the value is dependent on how much damage you do to it, I think. Also, if you do a certain amount of damage to a player and then they get killed by someone else, you actually get a kill. So I don't know exactly what the value is for this, but I think once I did 77 damage to someone, and someone else killed the guy, and that counted as a kill. So if you do a lot of damage to someone but then someone comes along and finishes them off, you'll still get the kill for that as well as the other guy. So there's a lot more ways now to earn points. Obviously they're trying to encourage teamwork, especially with the 5-man squads and the way that the offensive and the defensive perk system is set up now. So just generally trying to encourage teamwork and make everyone feel like that they're actually having an effect on the outcome of the game, rather than just being a bystander who gets killed every minute or so. You know, everyone can have an effect on your team's performance. I think that's pretty much everything covered. Yeah, I think we're good, guys. Sweet. So again, hope you enjoyed this video and it cleared up some things about BF4 for you. Like I said at the start, this is pre-alpha. Everything is probably going to change by release. Perhaps when the game's released, none of this will be relevant. Who knows? Either way, BF4, it was incredibly fun to play. It feels solid. Like I said yesterday in my video, even though there was so many bugs and problems with it, it was just fun. It's a fun game. We've got spectator mode, which is going to be great for esports and competitive games. I think we're going to see a bit of a resurgence in competitive Battlefield when BF4 is released, especially now as it's got a spectator mode. There's absolutely no excuse for tournaments not to be run, like 5v5 infantry only competitions in particular. I think there's going to be a lot of those going on for BF4. So yeah, I'm really happy, guys. It's shaping up to be real nice. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video again. Leave me a comment and a rating. Let me know what you thought about it. Subscribe for more BF4 content, and I'll see you in the next one.